Hey folks, it's Sadesh, and I'm back. This time featuring Victoria again because she's written some great articles out on our VMware Cloud blog. And I think what's exciting is that we have VMworld coming up, and these articles are really focused on like people, process, and overall culture, which for a lot of times when people think of VMworld, they don't think about the impact that it has on maybe your professional career or maybe on the culture of an organization. And I really liked this blog series that she started on because it really does focus on that. So, you know, with that being said, one of the first sessions that caught my eye was this session here around how to keep it interesting for folks when you're working in a 5 to 10 Zoom call world on a daily basis. Victoria, what are your thoughts on this one? Why did it end up on the list?
Yeah, definitely. I think this could be a really interesting one because, like you said, people can be on 5, 10, 15 Zoom meetings in a single day, right? How do you stay engaging with them? So for me, I keep in mind the fact that, like I said, people are on Zoom all day and they're probably pretty fatigued. So whenever I'm presenting on Zoom, in order to keep people engaged, I keep things really concise. I'm succinct with everything that I say. I always try to have a little bit of excitement in my tone of voice. And I noticed that that has taken me really far, in addition to asking relevant questions as well. So that would be my advice. But I'm excited to see what the speakers have to say in terms of this session as well, and how they go more in depth.
Yeah, and one of the things that's also interesting is they're going to highlight best practices here for kind of your setup, which I always love tips on. Where do I need to improve things? And a lot of times I still have issues when I get on Zoom calls with connectivity. Those common issues. So
Definitely.
that's exciting. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is that during today's call, I'm going to be launching this survey to see how engaged folks are out there. And if you will check your chats, you'll see the link appear shortly to this survey to just kind of say, hey, which of these are you most interested in? And you'll get to rank them between three different places. So first, second, third. So I think, once again, trying out something new, and the survey will look like this, and you get to sort of identify what's your favorite. So, the next thing that kind of caught my eye is, you know, folks have problems. How do you solve them? Right. And I thought what was interesting about this was that as, as we all have to kind of sort through these different problems that we have, we may take a common pattern, or we may need to learn a different pattern to solving the problem. And this gets fairly technical. What do you think here, Victoria? What caught your eye here?
Yeah. So something that was pretty remarkable for me is that there is literally a scientific and mathematical approach to decision making. There's even something here called Bernoulli's probabilistic approach. Sudesh, do you know anything about that?
What I heard is on the internet, it's essentially this idea that if you kind of do coin flipping, heads, tails, et cetera, and instead of having those heads or tails, insert variables, right? So different patterns, you can start to sort of test your different hypotheses. And this is what was, I think, cool about this is it reminded me of this old thing that I taught my kids about Benford's Law. And I don't know if Victoria, you've kind of filed your taxes yet, but it's a common way that you can check out if folks are sort of scamming the numbers. And I thought this was super cool because it's a very scientific approach. And folks, if you haven't checked out Benford's Law, you should totally do it and have that discussion with your kids, because it's a fun one. You start to look at the numbers, and there's a bar chart and everything. Um,
Love it.
so, what was kind of neat about the next one that caught my eye was this kind of journey in STEM, and this is something that I'd be interested in because as a parent, I'm always talking to my kids about sort of science, technology, engineering, and math, and overall, they're always asking me, yeah, so once I've learned this, how's it going to make me amazing? Like, what's next for me? And why did this particular one catch your eye? What was kind of interesting from your standpoint?
Definitely. So, for someone who perhaps has aspirational goals in STEM, it's always such a fantastic exercise to see people that you admire, seeing what they did in their journey. How can you pick out little nuggets and incorporate that into your own journey, if you will? And for me, breaking into tech from a non technical background, that has been huge.
Nice. And I like that folks are going to be on a panel for this session. If I can find the right one here, yeah, this is a whole panel of folks. So I was really excited to see that, and it's the office of the CTO. So I'm saying those are some thinkers over there. Um, Now, one that also was kind of exciting and interesting was this one where you kind of highlight skill gaps. And for me, this is something that I've always been challenged with is I don't know what I don't know. And I don't find out that I don't know something until somebody's like, well, have you thought about X, Y, or Z? And I'm like, oh, I really know nothing about that particular area or have no expertise there. And I thought this was particularly interesting because here linked, you actually have the forum to go kind of fill out this skills assessment. And I can only guess that you felt that this was pretty important because it kind of helps folks along. But what were your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Definitely. So this one is really interesting because you have to be really honest with yourself and your team about where you stand in terms of how comfortable are you with VMware products, what is your experience and your team's experience. So through this assessment, you essentially state where you and your team stand, and then we can better serve you in terms of the training that we provide and the assistance and the resources there.
Really nice. And the other thing that I thought was kind of cool about this is that you actually get a call back from VMware Learning, and they kind of
Yep.
walk you through that. So I think that's a cool offering overall. And in kind of understanding stuff, I think the next area was one that was a great topic because it sort of addresses diversity and inclusion. And this one really focuses on language and how it changes the corporate culture. I was really excited to see this kind of be included as a session. And overall, that's one of the key areas that I kind of thought was important. But I'd be excited to hear your thoughts on this as well.
Definitely. It was really shocking over the last year in terms of all the initiatives that have come out with all the social justice awareness, in terms of how much exclusionary language exists even in our own vocabulary and at work, stuff like blacklist and whitelist. How can we find alternatives to that? Or even stuff that's even more shocking that
Mhm.
we were just saying without even realizing what it meant. So I'm loving this session, especially on such a big stage like VMworld.
Yeah, and I think, one of the other interesting things here is that they're going to share what we do internally so folks can go adopt it for their organizations. And I always like when I was in the customer position, what I felt was most helpful was when I could hear what other folks were doing, right? So I kind of could baseline and understand that. So I think that's a really neat one that focuses a bit more on culture. The next one that I kind of caught my eye was this one around VMware Friends Reunion. And, this one is a little bit more kind of tongue in cheek because it's overall trying to focus on, what those areas are for kind of innovation in the next wave. And so I also happen to know that the person that's attending this session or really hosting it is making great focaccia all the time.
Oh,
What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, really excited for this one. Like it says here in the session description, these folks are some VMware alumni. It's really exciting to see what VMware alumni continue to do on a daily basis. Now they're venture capitalists. So really excited to see some of these conversations with our leadership.
Nice, really good. Now, there was another one that I had kind of skipped over, and that's because I kind of wanted to kind of focus on the good. And this one is probably really interesting for me because a lot of career building overall is really kind of for me being able to share, mentor, and guide others as we're working through growing our careers. I really like this particular session as well because it highlights those individuals' paths. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, as the face of tech is changing, I love that we're empowering others to do their best work, learning ways to best work together and collaborate, and being essentially, as the name says, a force for good. So, also really excited about this session.
Nice. Well, we wanted to keep this quick today. I really appreciate you hopping on and joining us and sharing all of these great sessions. And I will post this URL in the chat so that folks can kind of go check it out. Victoria, have a great weekend and look forward to chatting with you in the future.
Thanks
Thanks.
so much. You as well. Bye bye.